I think we're certainly into Berlin and back podcast territory now, because on Sunday, in case you weren't aware, England will be in their second consecutive European Championship finals, the first final ever on foreign soil, and all eyes will be on Berlin. The England team are Berlin bound. It's Will and I sat here in Hull tonight. Sadly, neither of us are Berlin bound, but Will, how are you?
Feel like rubbish, mate.
Yeah, it's been rough, hasn't it?
Yeah. Apparently, I wasn't aware that England had got through. I didn't notice. I don't know what to say because it's weird. Because we played well, we looked great, we had one of those dodgy decisions go our way for once, and then Ollie Watkins just decided to just do what he does for Villa every week and score an absolute banger.
Certainly did. Welcome to the 132nd episode of the To Hull and Back podcast, proudly sponsored by Old Zoological Bar and Kingfisher Fish and Chips, both in Hull. Will summed it up perfectly there. It's well, after a whole tournament of we're rubbish, aren't we? This is appalling. Southgate out.
I delighted in the way that Southgate has made us eat our words. Absolutely delighted.
All you had to do was listen to Gary Neville last night. He said, after slagging him off all tournament, he said, no man in England is more experienced with England at major tournaments. He's played in them, he's managed in them, he's got deep into a lot of them. He knows how to do it. But I mean, where's the best place to start? Obviously, we went 1-0 down.
I think just go for it. Yeah, it's Xavi Simons.
Brilliant.
The starting lineups, I think, was you surprised that there was only the one change in it being Gay back in for Konza? I wasn't surprised that change was made because Gay's been great all tournament for the most part. I was surprised that he didn't bring Shaw in for Trippier, I'll be honest, from the start.
I was just going to say, yeah.
But apart from that, I'm not. I think, I would have kept a similar team, and he kept with the back three as well, which was a good positive.
And we'll talk about what changes he might make for the Spain game later on. But yeah, went 1-0 down early. Declan Rice gave the ball away, and then Xavi Simons just hit it. Pickford got so close to.
It was very close to him, and you could argue we could do better, but I think it's the pace of the ball just completely catches Pickford out because he does hit it hard, like a traction engine, Simons. But it was a great goal for them, to be fair. But it was typical because we had started relatively positively, and it was their first chance on goal, and they scored it straight away. Just typical.
It is very typical. And then after a couple of Kieran Trippier offsides, we worked it forward. Ball fell to Harry Kane, went for the volley, went just over the top of the crossbar, but Denzel Dumfries caught him with his studs on the foot, trying to block the ball. I think we were all sat there thinking it's very rare they're given, and we didn't expect to get anything from it. But the longer it went on, the VAR check, you knew as soon as the referee went to the screen, there was a very high chance of it being given.
It was very weird because, as you say, the foul happened, obviously, and then it seemed like they weren't actually doing anything. And then VAR seemed to interfere a bit later than normal. So it was a bit. I personally didn't think it was a penalty, to be quite honest. But it's one of those. If the Netherlands had got that, I'd have been fuming. But
they're the sort of ones that you're fuming if they're against you, but you absolutely take if you get them. Because it's not. It's clear cut, is it?
Is it Zvea, the ref who was getting criticised before the game? Obviously, I think we mentioned it as well before that he'd been done for match fixing back in 2005. And Jude Bellingham had been critical of his comments, made some critical comments about him. So it was
after the Classica game, no less.
Yeah, but I thought actually I'll just sidetrack there with the referee. I thought he had a really good game, apart from that penalty decision. Maybe
Not
you just maybe he realised he had to be more favourable to England because of the way that our gutter press decided to slag him off.
Well, our press have been awful this whole tournament.
They're always bad. They're always bad.
The teams. This Sky Sports did like a. By the way, this is what Jordan Pickford's water bottle might look like this time. Saying,
how stupid are you to reveal that sort of information? That always bugs me. That when you see that sort of thing revealed, it's like it doesn't benefit the team that you're supporting. So why would you reveal it?
I saw someone say in the comments of that Instagram post something like, if Sky Sports were around in 1944, they'd have leaked Churchill's backward tactics for D-Day.
But going back to the penalty, I don't think it was a penalty, but and this was mentioned on TalkSport earlier, actually, it is a point that's in the rules, it technically is a foul, because it was anywhere else on the pitch to given a foul. And in Germany, in the Bundesliga a lot this season, those are almost always, if there's contact in the box, it's almost always given. In the Bundesliga this season and the second division, it's rare that it isn't. So, it was a German referee who's used to playing under that style and those rulings. So it's not a surprise that he gave it. The question shouldn't be, is it a penalty? It should be, should that be a penalty? It's more the rules being
interpreted
in the actual, but the other thing I want to say about the penalty, which was expertly put away by Kane, fair play to him, after what happened against France.
There was a brief moment when I saw Verbruggen go the same way, and I thought, "Oh my God, he's missed again." But then I saw it hit the back of the net and just leapt out my chair.
But people, obviously, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, it wasn't a penalty and all this, England getting away with it." It's like Maradona handled the ball into the back of the net against us in 1986. Ronald Koeman, funnily enough, cost us from getting to the 1994 World Cup.
Hence the title.
I'm coming back for Koeman later.
Title.
1998, I remember Sol Campbell having a goal disallowed against Argentina that made no sense at the time. The same happened in 2004 as well against Portugal. Sol Campbell scored later on. It was disallowed. I'm not sure why. You got Beckham's red's always been a dodgy one, I think, against Argentina as well. You've got Lampard scoring and it not being over the line somehow. There's been plenty of times in the past where crappy decisions have gone against us. So, as far as I'm concerned, I couldn't give a toss if it was the wrong decision. It was nice to finally have that actually go our way for once.
Expertly put, Will. Expertly put. So on the back of the penalty, I just want to talk a little bit about Harry Kane's performance more broadly, because I think that was the best game he's had all tournament. But there was
still far away.
Yeah, there was still sort of, when Saka's ran to the byline, he's pulling it back, and Harry Kane's on the halfway line. Where would Ollie Watkins and Ivan Toney be? They'd be in that box ready to pick it up. And you and Ant said it on the last one. Excuse me. That ideally for Harry Kane, you have a Watkins or a Toney up there with him. We've got someone to play off, and if he drops deeper, there's still someone up there.
Yeah, I still stand by that. Definitely, I think it complements him best, being able to come deep and still have an outlaw up front for him to pass it to. Before we get on to later on in the game, that first half performance was just so good. Everyone.
It was.
But apart from the only person who maybe didn't put in the greatest game, I'll be honest, was probably Rice. I didn't think he had the greatest game, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it didn't end up affecting us in the end.
We got both goals back.
Yeah. But that first half, Foden in that first half was just, after being very anonymous all tournament, Foden was on it. He was on the right side he was on the right hand side.
Amazing.
He was slightly in. He was exactly where he plays for Man United. Fucking hell, Jesus.
Man City.
He's exactly where he plays for Man City. It's where he wants to play, and it showed straight away. Him and Saka were just so good on that side.
They were. He had one cleared off the line, one off the woodwork.
I still don't know how he even got that far before he got cleared by Dumfries.
That footwork before it was cleared off the line was phenomenal.
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal. And if Verbruggen doesn't get that little touch on it,
it probably is going in.
Goes in.
Yeah.
It goes in, definitely. Totally agree with you. That's Foden's best performance of the whole tournament. But then when Memphis Depay got injured, they brought on a central midfielder, and then at half time they tightened that midfield up, meaning that Foden had to go into left areas to get on the ball again.
You got quite yeah.
And then we'll talk about the subs as well. But Foden, fantastic. Someone else who really impressed me was Kobbie Mainoo.
Oh, he was the best for me. He was the best player on the pitch by a mile. He was absolutely. I know coming into the tournament, I was glad he was in the England squad, but I always did think coming into the tournament, I probably mentioned it at the time, that maybe he's not the best choice, most ability wise. Maybe he's really young. He's not played much overall, but he has settled into that team, and his work, not just defensively, but the way when he's being progressive and the way he was connecting with Saka and Walker and Foden was just sublime, and it's very promising going forward, seeing him play like that against a major nation. It makes you think, well, maybe we don't have to worry about who's next to Rice. Now, I think that question might have finally been answered fully now. It has to be Mainoo at the moment.
Perhaps we have found our natural replacement for Calvin Phillips. Moving on.
Jesus.
Moving on.
Substitutes.
Second half. It was after the Netherlands tightened it up. I'm firmly of the belief that if the Netherlands left it as it was, Ronald Koeman didn't make any tactical changes, England would have gone on and won that game 3 or 4-1. Because the way we were playing in the first,
the way it was going.
Yeah, we had so much control over the midfield, had the freedom of the wings, and we would have.
That's it. We dominated possession, which I did not expect to do at all. I thought we'd have a bit of possession, but I didn't think we'd completely dominate it. I mean, I think the game was 60, almost 60-40. I think it ended up. Obviously, the second half, the Netherlands had a lot more of the ball in the end, but I was just so surprised. I think it's just they've played poorly and they've just slowly grown, very, very slowly grown through the tournament. And against Switzerland, you saw the change, the tweaks, the tactics, and you just saw that little spark. There's something there. And then finally, against a team that's a lot more open, and this is something we brought about Hull City a lot. When they play teams who are on a low defensive block, they struggle. And I think it's the same with England. And when they're playing against better teams who are more likely to attack and go forward and leave space open, England are much better equipped for that. It's exactly the same. Hull City were having exactly the same problem under Rossini. It was exactly the amount of time we play a team at home who would just come and sit back and we just could not break them down. But then we'd play someone like Leicester and we'd be end-to-end tearing them apart. Ipswich it'd be a fantastic match.
Familiar problem, like you say. The one change that was made at half-time was Kieran Trippier being replaced by Luke Shaw.
Correct choice. I think he's going to start the final, but we'll get on to that.
I was just going to say, I think him getting half an hour extra time plus the 15 minutes he got when he was brought on in the quarters.
And then a full half here.
Getting 45 minutes in the semi-finals. I think that absolutely means Luke Shaw will be starting the final.
And I mean, we have to have a left-footed player on that side to go against Lamine Yamal. We have to have a left-footer on that side.
Simply do. What Lamine Yamal showed this whole tournament is there's so many things you can talk about with him. And has anyone mentioned?
We'll get on to France, Spain after we talk about England.
We will do. It's on my list. But no, definitely the right change. And then as the half grew on, well, the Netherlands brought Weghorst on. That was. I didn't want to.
Funny, with Depay going off in the first half injured, it really messed up, I think, Koeman's plans, because obviously I think he's obviously probably their most creative outlet. And obviously they brought on Veerman, who's a much deeper lying player for the most part. He's still a decent player, but he's not the same player at all as
he's not
Depay.
a forward, is he?
Yeah, they were relying more on Xavi Simons, even more so by that point, to create the attacking play. Weghorst was like the last roll of the dice, really, that early on for Koeman, because he didn't really have any other way to sort of change the game apart from bringing on Weghorst. And I think he needed England to be losing when he brought Weghorst on for it to really be effective.
Because Weghorst he's your more traditional striker, isn't he? He's your big sort of target man. That's the simple way about it. He's your target man. And whenever that ball went into the box, I was always a little bit worried, because we know what he can do, and they had players on the pitch at that point like Stefan de Vrij, Virgil van Dijk, good in the air. Yeah,
set pieces were always a worry for me going into the game. It's funny actually when you look at the stats after the game as well. Did you know we had no corners? Did you notice?
I only noticed when Sam Matterface said in like the 56th minute the first corner of the game to the Netherlands.
That's very weird, and we didn't have a single one all game.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say.
I don't remember the last time I've seen a team not have a single corner and win.
I don't really know what to say, to be honest with you. You've got me stumped. But no, Jordan Pickford made a brilliant save from one of those set pieces. Van Dijk met it in the air.
Yeah, good reflex.
Really good reactions from Pickford to beat it away. And then our two changes came about 75, 80 minutes. Harry Kane.
It was just before the 80th minute, it was, yeah.
Harry Kane, Phil Foden both off, but Ollie Watkins and Cole Palmer. Ollie Watkins he said to Cole Palmer, we're both going to come on. You're going to find me, and I'm going to score. Cole Palmer.
It's such a shame it ended 1-1 and went to extra time then, innit? And then we lost on penalties.
Cole Palmer played through Ollie Watkins. Good touch to get under control. Turned Stefan de Vrij, stuck it through his legs, stuck it past Verbruggen, side netting.
Perfectly in the corner.
Finish. And that bang on 90th minute was...
the goal happened on 89:59.
Wow.
You did actually skip over somewhere, which was the first time we thought we'd scored, which was Saka obviously putting it in.
Walker offside.
The pub went absolutely radio rental. I went mental. Then you look and you realise you've looked like an absolute idiot because you've just jumped about for an offside. It was offside for a start. Before we get there, it was offside. It was right allowed, and it felt like. Because that happened just before we made the changes as well. It was like a little warning sign for the Netherlands, because they were starting to dominate the ball a lot more, but England still had those chances. And like I say, they didn't take advantage of what they had. They only actually ended up having 2 shots on target, which I think was obviously the goal, and then Van Dijk's shot saved.
Mm-hmm.
I think Simons had a shot as well, which he hit into the ground and it bounced up kindly for Pickford as well. But yeah. It's funny when you look back, actually. The Netherlands didn't, even though they did have a lot of that ball in that second half, they didn't create much with it.
Yeah, I thought the same. It was a more even second half than the first was, definitely. And England defended well. Gakpo was given a little bit more room. He had a bit more of the game in the second half, but we dealt with him well. And we said it in the last episode, didn't we? Having a left footer on the left side in Luke Shaw just brought so much more balance, didn't it?
It's just balanced, a lot more balanced. That's what it is.
And I'm just trying to look. I can't remember who had the offside. Was it?
It was Trippier. No one Trippier. Can't remember. It was. I can't remember who it was now.
Was it Foden?
Might have been Foden. That time it would have probably been Foden. Yeah, I was, to be honest, at that point I was too out of it, and to really remember. I woke up this morning and I was still drunk. So.
Yeah, so Southgate subs, we criticised him all tournament for his subs. Would we like to see him a little bit earlier? Perhaps.
Probably, but they went into full effect.
A goal for one, an assist for another, and the other.
Then he rightly, as soon as we went ahead right on that point, thought, right then, get Maynard off, get Levi, get Gallagher on, just kill the clock, get some solid bodies on who'll keep the ball away from the goals. Yeah, and it worked, and we're in the Euro final.
Have you seen the video of Jordan Pickford celebrating the goal going in?
Oh yeah, that man, Jordan Pickford, he's like two different humans when he's playing for Everton and England.
He is, isn't he?
It might be because he's playing in a better team when he's playing for England. To be fair, that might help him. But it's weird how. I think an argument at this point genuinely needs to be made, and I know it'll annoy a lot of people saying it because it's almost sacrosanct, and I don't agree with it. But he has to be up there in terms of England goalkeepers now.
In terms of,
especially if they win it.
In terms
I don't think he's better than Gordon Banks, but he deserves to be in the conversation.
In terms of the success we've had continuously with him, our number one at tournaments from Russia 2018,
and him playing well, saving penalties, having good performances at almost every tournament.
Every single penalty shootout he's played in for England, he's saved at least one penalty.
And he saved two in the final when we lost.
Saving two and in the one we lost. That's
in theory. Imagine if I know it's obviously true, but obviously Donnarumma saved the thing free, didn't he? But say England win that, he is the hero because he saved two penalties. One of them, Jorginho, which is still one of the best penalties I've ever seen in that final.
And then we had Harry Maguire sticking it and breaking the GoPro. That was.
But we don't want to think about that final now.
We're not. We are in a second one, and our opponents. Anything else we're going on about England first of all before we talk about Spain?
Yeah, well, it's more about the Netherlands, right? So Ronald Koeman obviously came out. Obviously, he was upset after the game with the penalty. He was upset with VAR, saying VAR has made football broken and all this. Koeman, are you the biggest fucking hypocrite known to mankind? Because I remember, well, I don't remember because I was too young, but I know that back in 1990, early 90s, 92, I'm going to say, because I can't remember off the top of my head, you hauled down David Platt when he's through one-on-one against the Netherlands in a vital World Cup qualifier for the 94 World Cup, which we went on to not win, and we went on to not qualify as a result, pretty much. And he was one of the sort of reasons for that happening. And it was a dodgy decision then, and it would still be a horrific decision now. And he's going around crying about the decisions. And it's like, karma's finally caught up with you. As our title says, Graham Taylor has his revenge.
Well, Sky Sports narrate the incident like this. David Platt burst through on goal. This is the moment to send England to the 1994 World Cup.
Have you ever seen it?
Pardon?
Have you seen it before?
I haven't seen it before. But I know the context of it.
I'll watch it later, but it's a shocker. It's a shocker. And Koeman got away with it.
Well, I can see
he got away with it. Well, he got away with it, but with karma's come around to bite him on the arse, put it that way. And it's delightful to see it finally happen. Like I said before, with all those other decisions that have gone against us, it was nice to have one go our way. And on another slight thing, it's nice to finally the argument of England don't play good teams in the tournament on the way to the final, because apparently Germany's just complete and utter dog shit Euro 2020 somehow. But we can now. You can't argue that the Netherlands aren't a good team.
We've beaten one of the favourite.
So the argument's now dead.
Yeah. Well, does it matter how you get there either?
It shouldn't, but people do put that as a caveat. They like to put an asterisk on things, saying, "Oh, it's not because of the." Well, shut the up! Shut the fuck up!
Yeah. Well, just final thing as I've been flicking through on the Graham Taylor stuff from that Ronald Koeman, David Platt. Netherlands captain Ronald Koeman reached out with his right arm, hauls Platt to the turf, points to the penalty spot. Koeman's adamant it should be a free kick. The referee reversed his decision, agreeing with Koeman and only booking him. Graham Taylor, footage later seen on a Channel 4 documentary. What are they being instructed? What sort of thing is happening here? Absolutely disgraceful.
Have you ever seen The Impossible Job? The documentary The Impossible Job, but it's about Graham Taylor. It's one of the best football documentaries I've ever seen. It's so good, and it's on YouTube. The whole thing's on YouTube.
Oh wow!
And it's so there's a couple of them. There's a couple of them, but it didn't have a good time, Graham Taylor. But I think he's looked back too harshly onto a point. Because I think he's still I think he was always still a well-liked manager. It's regardless of how it went down. But it's just nice seeing wrongs being righted in some form. Yeah. I know 2 wrongs don't make a right, but
it's nice. Nice to see revenge.
It's just a shame Graham Taylor isn't around to actually see it happen, because he'd have been fucking loving it.
Well, we did
he would like that. He would like that.
We did beat the Netherlands at Euro 96, lest we forget. But
yeah, but the difference, but this is because it's Koeman. There's that context
Koeman
there, and it's in a knockout game at such a high stakes. When we played the Dutch, that was the group stages of the year. It's probably the best I've ever seen England play, that Dutch game at Euro 96. But it don't feel the same in that particular context as last night did.
Because ultimately, that's the biggest stage. That's the biggest stage, isn't it? That the 2 teams have been on together, and Euro semi-final. And England triumph. Fantastic. We've mentioned this briefly already, but I forgot to mention it further. Is Kieran Trippier out and Luke Shaw in? A unanimous, the only change we would make for the final? For me, it's a yes, and I'm pretty sure for you it's a yes as well.
Probably. I mean, I would be considering removing Kane, I will not lie, but I don't think I would. I think I'd do the same. I'd keep Kane on pitch and I'd bring on Watkins later on.
Watkins or Tony later on, yeah.
Maybe earlier though. Maybe not wait until the 80th minute. Depends on the game's going, of course.
It does.
But if it's a similar game to last night, then yeah, try and keep it similar tactically. I was going into last night thinking, if we win, I was expecting us to just play like we have done. But it doesn't matter because Spain are going to hammer us anyway. So I don't care if we get to the final. I don't care if we lose, because Spain will smash us, and they are the best team of the tournament, and they have been so far. But now England have played like that. It's thrown me for a loop because it's making me think, oh, maybe we can.
Maybe we can do it.
And I almost hate that more than how I was feeling before. I was
I'm the same.
I'm delighted we're in the final. If we lose, we lose. I can't be too upset because of the way that Spain have played. If Spain beat us, they do deserve it. But
they do deserve it. You're right. But like people, like with you, like video watchers and live viewers, and I'll explain it for audio people as well. My little tagline is nobody say it, don't jinx it. And that refers to how little people have said the phrase, quote, football's coming home this tournament.
It's coming home, Joe.
Did you nearly call me Nathaniel then?
I did, yeah.
Well...
by the way, we found out, if you listen to our last episode, we did find out Nathaniel is alive. He's been in Italy. The Tencoat.
And he's been active in chat tonight. No one, it's that because no one's believed. it's very rarely been said. And Italy were quite vocal after the Wembley game that the phrase "it's coming home" motivated them when the fans were singing it. So I'm just going to say, nobody say those 3 words consecutively, one after the other.
It's coming home.
I don't want to jinx it. I've listened to the song once. I will not listen to it again until we're lifting that trophy. Until that trophy is in Harry Kane's arms.
It's coming home.
I'm not saying it. I don't want to jinx it. So, Spain then. They topped their group, beating Croatia 3-0 in their opener, then defeating Italy 1-0 and Albania 1-0. Then in the round of 16, despite a little bit of a early lapse of control, let's say, from a Robin Lenormand own goal, they did end up beating Georgia 4-1. Then beat Germany 2-1. Even though they did have Danny Carvajal sent off, he will be back for the final, I'd imagine.
Which is a shame. I wish he was missing the final as well.
I wish he was missing the final. And then they did, of course, beat France in their last game. France with more shots.
Superb match.
And, well, it was unfortunately a game I didn't get to watch a lot of because I was out at dinner.
Oh, it was probably to that point, game of the tournament for me. Anyway, I know there was other games earlier in the tournament, the group says like Turkey, Georgia, that was fantastic. The Netherlands, Austria was a great match. Georgia in general, any match that we were involved in was great. But for me, it was the best game of the tournament so far. Probably will remain because the finals are rarely great matches.
They're cagey affairs, aren't they?
Yeah. And I think it will be the same on Sunday. But it was interesting because obviously France took the lead, Kolo Muani, but they never really sort of capitalised on it. And there was the best they've played all tournament as well, which is I suppose maybe it's a theme if you vote in a left wing government, you suddenly improve footballing wise.
You start to play a bit better. Well,
yeah, it explains why Spain won very little until Franco left.
Well, we won't talk about how left wing we can describe certain left wing governments, although they are more left wing than the one we had booting out.
Kolo Muani scoring first, then Lamine Yamal. You have no right to do that at 16 years old. Did you know he's 16, by the way? Well, actually, he's 17 tomorrow, so he's still 16. He's 16 until he's 17.
16, at a push 17, 16.
And then Danny Olmo scored a cracking goal as well that initially went down as an own goal and then rightly got overturned and put back onto him.
I've seen both the goals. They were both absolutely
both great goals. I think Yamal might have goal of the tournament lined up there, and obviously we'll want Bellingham to win it. But I don't think I think Yamal will win it because it's just the occasion and the fact he's 16. Did you know he's 16? By the way,
he's 16. Will.
Did you know that the away end at Kenilworth Road goes through back gardens?
Will still.
But yeah, it was a great game.
Every time he managed a game.
France were much improved, but they couldn't get past Spain. Spain looked good, but they looked the most vulnerable they have all tournament. I'm not saying they weren't cast us aside, but I feel a lot more. I'm not saying I feel confident we're going to win it, but I feel a lot more confident than I did 2 days ago that we can win it.
Yeah, because we've seen Spain get pushed a little bit.
Yeah,
by to an extent Germany, but France as well. In terms of Spain across the whole tournament, I mean, their speed, the way they've knocked the ball about is phenomenal. The the pass accuracy is insane. They've got, like we say, Lamine Yamal, Danny Olmo, Rodri is the key cog in there, really. Fabian Ruiz always impresses me when I see him at tournaments. I've got Nico Williams on that left-hand side as well. So it's a really, really good side. And they're going to have Danny Carvajal back. But ultimately, I think we've got more strength in depth. Whether Gareth Southgate utilises that depth.
This is exactly the thing. While I do think Spain are superb and look amazing, I feel like if you lined England and Spain up man to man, you'd probably pick the England player over the Spanish player in theory.
Yeah.
Just purely as individuals. It's just the way that they've played is just been. If England played like them, they'd have won this tournament maybe out of cancer possibly, because we have got such a strong side, but if they were playing such a strong style as well, it probably would. But, I mean, they could do it even playing this sort of resilient, resourceful style. I mean, they're the first team to be behind in the quarters and the semis and still get to the final.
Behind in the round of 16 as well.
Oh, yeah, there was. I completely forgot about the back here.
Well, thank God. Thank God the team seem to have moved on a little bit from that as well. But yeah, I think that's Euros covered, isn't it? We've done it. We're in the final. We've done.
Okay,
we've
then.
done...
No. Well, we have already discussed it. Okay, then. Prediction.
Oh, are you going to say 3-0?
I mean, for old time's sake, I'm going to have to say 3-0 England is coming home. Heart says England, head says Spain. Put it that way. We'll say that.
I'm in the same boat. Heart says
but I'm going to obviously vote with my heart over my head.
Definitely.
And if we do lose to Spain, as long as we play like decently we did last night, there's no shame in it because they've been so good all tournament. It would be a shame if we still didn't win anything, but the way that Spain have played and the way that we managed to sort of tear that corner, if we went out fighting, I'd be upset, obviously. I would be devastated, but
inconsolable.
I'd be proud of them. I'd be happy with how it's gone. Even if they don't win it, I think it's a good spot for Southgate to go out on.
Yeah.
Get into the final again. I mean, if they win it, it's the perfect way for him to end it.
It is, definitely.
But he's got a chance to have redemption for what happened at Wembley 3 years ago. And I'd like to hope in my head that he sort of learned from that, not making that change early in a final. And he
also,
takes it on board
if
for this
you get an early goal, don't just sit back and hope we see it out.
Yeah.
Which, playing a 3, the way we have done this tournament, later on anyway, I don't think he will. But this is Gareth Southgate we're talking about. Taking a 1-0 lead, then sitting back to just consolidate and hope we don't concede is his absolute speciality. 2-1 England is what I'm going to say. Voting with the heart a little bit more.
2-1. That's not bad. 3-0 and it's going to be 3-0 after extra time. So it's going to be 0-0 at full time.
3-0.
And then England are just going to somehow just have a second gear and Spain are just going to fall apart. In my head, in my dreams.
Willie's staying on brand as per, and you've got to respect it. Should we talk a little bit about the mess that is Hull City then?
Well, it's funny because since the last time we spoke, which is only like 3 days, it's looking a lot more promising.
Well, so let's talk about it, shall we? The players are in Turkey. That's the first team, the under-21s and the under-18s. Jadon Philogene and Jacob Greaves were not on the flight out there from Humberside Airport.
Jacob going to which is inevitable, isn't it?
We're just waiting on that being announced now. And Jadon Philogene, surprisingly, joined up with the squad this morning. Didn't train in either of Tim Walter's double sessions, but joined them in the gym. That's a little bit strange. Aston Villa have matched what Ipswich bid, as they have a right to do within 72 hours of us accepting that bid, as per a clause in the deal which brought Jadon Philogene here for £5 million a year ago. This whole thing is all incredibly strange, with his agent taking photos. Outside of Everton's ground as well. It's all Everton's training ground. This whole thing is all a little bit weird. Aston Villa have a 30% sell on as well. So if we sell him for the reported 18 million, then Aston Villa...
It becomes a horrible selling price.
Aston Villa get about 12.5. Well, leave us with about 12.5 million.
Which is, as far as I'm concerned, absolutely awful.
It is, but that's the sell-on clause. That's the nature of it. We're just going to have to suck it up. And ultimately, if Villa sign him back, then they have done some 4D chess kind of stuff in terms of the sell-on clause, because they'll only pay 12.5 million for him. However, I think the Jadon Philogene going back to Aston Villa is a worse move than Ipswich, because he won't get the football he wants. And
I think going to Ipswich is a worse move than going to Palace.
I agree.
Which would have been the best choice of the ones he's been linked with.
Would be, definitely. And we'll talk about how we could benefit from that deal, Jesser and Raksaki, in a little while. In terms of training today, Tim Walter did a double session. He'll be doing double sessions all pre-season by the sounds of things. And he also said to Mike White, he's probably going to do double sessions throughout the season as well, which I was a little bit worried about. And he said he will obviously alter it with midweek games, but with the intensity of the Championship, plus if we get...
because he's going to be playing a high press style, which is what he did in Germany, so it makes sense.
Well, yeah, but I do worry just towards the end of the season, might we do a Bielsa for Leeds and wilt a little bit because we're knackered? That's my only worry.
It depends on the squad we've got when it comes to that point.
It does. And Tim Walter was very open in the interview he did with Mike White for Radio Humberside and BBC Sounds that we need more players. We absolutely do categorically, for a fact, need more players. Yesterday, we were linked by Yagish Sabunkoglu, the most reliable man in Turkey, to West Brom midfielder Okay Yakuşlu. Will, thoughts?
I think that'd be a great move, personally.
Agree.
I think that'd be a great one to go for.
He's just sort of... If Seri's been reported that he might go because there's interest from Saudi, and I'm not totally against it because the Saudis will probably give us a decent fee and they'll get his wages off, and he's only got a year left on his deal with no extra year option. So I'm not against Seri leaving. Yakuşlu, although a different profile of player to Seri, be a good replacement.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not much more I can add to that, to be fair.
Speaking of...
It's true that he's going, Seri. The thing is, if he's going to Saudi, it's likely we can get a few quid for that.
Definitely. That's why if he is to go to Saudi, I'm not against it at all. So, speaking of big brutes down the spine of the team, we're signing Kiefer Moore.
Don't say we are signing, and we're looking at signing.
We are close to completing a deal for Kiefer Moore.
That is a cracking deal, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely cracking.
I think back in January, when he was linked with us back in January, and I can't remember if I said it or not at the time, or if any of us said it, but I know at the time I did feel like I would have been very happy with Kiefer Moore coming to us, but obviously he chose Ipswich, was obviously the better choice for him at the time.
Definitely. He's got two automatic promotions in the last 3 seasons, I think.
Yeah. Well, he won't get one with us. Well, he's exactly what we need up front.
He is.
He's exactly what we need.
If we keep Giles, let him get forward, cross in,
Asking a bit there.
Whoosh. Kiefer Moore caught 6'5" in terms of championship goal scoring record. 173 appearances in the championship, 54 goals, a runner up in 2021-22 with Bournemouth, and the season just gone on loan at Ipswich. Cardiff's Player of the Year in 2020-21. He's got the championship experience. My only worry is he's 31 years old, going to be 32 2 days before the season starts. And if what's reported is correct, it's a 3-year deal, which I think is a little bit odd.
I'm not horrendously against it, to be honest. Yeah, he's getting on with age, but we need bodies up there. Yeah, it's probably not the best, but I suppose we've made some. We should hopefully have a bit more money in the bank because of the players who are leaving.
Hopefully, absolutely, hopefully. So moving on from Kiefer Moore, that was reported by Mike White this morning, but this unnamed striker that Baz Cooper has been talking about was Kiefer Moore. Baz also broke that we were looking at a right back with championship experience. My guess initially was Cody Drama because he's on a free, released by Leeds, got promoted with Luton a few years ago, was on loan at Birmingham last year. So I thought it would be him. But Baz has since altered his wording of that to experienced championship right back who was promoted last term. And the man that fits that bill best was a name actually mentioned on Not 606, I think, a few days ago. James Bree from Southampton. In terms of his championship record, out of 287 career appearances, 206 of those have been in the championship.
It's experience.
It certainly is experience. It's competition for Louis Coyle, where we need someone up there. We need someone at right back with him to provide competition after Cyrus Christie's left. So, yeah, Kiefer Moore, James Bree. If they're our next two through the door, then I would be certainly very, very happy with that indeed.
I'd certainly be more positive than I was on the last podcast.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I did say on the last podcast, I'm only basing it on our current scenario. And at that point, obviously, none of these players have been linked with us. It's happened in the past couple of days. But they have to obviously still sign for us. So as it stands, we'll have to wait and see. But if they do, it's definitely a very positive start to our transfer business that we've been waiting for quite a while, it feels like.
Certainly have, because you've got to remember by the time they went to Turkey last year, they'd signed Liam Delap, and it sort of felt populated because we had a load of under 21s lads who'd come in, a couple of those who went into the first team pretty early on. But hopefully things can start looking up now. And today, Alan Nixon, not the most reliable man in championship journalism, has said we're interested in Jessa and Raksaki, which doesn't surprise me with Philogene being linked to Palace and those negotiations supposedly ongoing. But he did also link Sean McLaughlin with a move to Blackburn. So I'm not really sure where to stand on this one. But
I don't think that's too ridiculous a shout. McLaughlin's no longer first choice, really, though I suppose with Greaves going out, he's going to need to bring in another centre-back, and as it stands, he'll become the main centre-back if no one comes in. But if people do come in, I can see him possibly leaving to another championship club where he'll probably get more football. Yeah. He's a good defender, McLaughlin. His pace has always been his issue.
In a three, for that
he's probably best in a back three rather than a back four. And it would be a shame if he left, but I could understand completely if he did.
Yeah,
but that assumes it's a correct rumour as well.
It's from Alan Nixon, and they very, very, very rarely happen. But it wouldn't surprise me if we're interested in Jessa and Raksaki, and we've said Palace is the best move for him because they've got that vacancy because Michael Elise has gone, and it gives the club an opportunity as well. So even though the fee will be lesser, to get Raksaki through the door as well.
Yeah.
And he is, of course, someone we were interested in.
Idea.
He is, of course, someone we were interested in last summer and January as well. So we've, it's a player the club are keen on, clearly. The football brain team, TM, clearly like him. So I think that's a big case of watch this space, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, the thing is, it's all. It's just that we're in this period, aren't we, where we're in limbo, really, waiting for just stuff to happen. Obviously, it's been. This is why I said to you last time we was on. It's like I was being in Orange City because the Euros are on. Yeah. So for me, nothing has. It's been completely dead, as far as I'm concerned. Because there's only been one thing on my mind, and it's the Euros, which is going to end on Sunday, which is going to be incredibly depressing.
Last couple of things. The club will play 2 friendlies in Turkey. Cash and Pasha on Saturday will be behind closed doors, not streamed. And as of yet, the kickoff time and the team hasn't been publicly announced. But there's belief that that's Fenerbahce. Obvious links with Ajun, and
there's links there that make perfect sense.
They do make perfect sense. Before their UEFA Champions League qualifying game against FC Lugano, who of course have Zangela, who we're linked with. And last 2 things, Oscar has been recalled. Will, thoughts?
Well, it's made me look like an absolute fucking fool, hasn't
it? I was also of the opinion.
The amount of times last season I said, "Get over it, Oscar's never playing for us again,"
and here we are.
Fucking dickhead.
He won't be with the team in Turkey because the Brazilian season carries on right through our off season, and he's been playing since. Well, if you ignore his injury at Metz, since August last season. And July really, from when we came back from pre-season. So Tim Walter has given him the next sort of 10 days off, and he will link up with the squad when they land back in England and what have you for the Doncaster game on the Tuesday. So perhaps Oscar will feature in that one after training on Monday. We know he'll be fully fit in terms of fitness because he's been playing games all the while all our players have been sat with the feet up on holiday and what have you. So he should be ready and raring to come straight in. Kiefer Moore, Oscar Estupinian, and a third one who's a little bit shorter with a bit of pace are for me the perfect combination of strikers. Moore, your target man. Oscar, he can do a bit of it all. But most crucially, is a poacher, knows where the back of the net is. 13 goals in his one and only full championship season to date, and then someone else who's a little bit pacier. That could be perfect.
Yeah. Just thinking of Oscar going from the Copacabana to Cottingham, Bahia to Branzome.
Oscar, vamos, and then finally, it's not crossed off my list, but today, although as well as Philogene not training, Lottatala, Longman, and Cynic were also not training. Longman, of course, linked with a move away. Not sure whether
Nathaniel will be devastated.
Yeah, not sure whether that was he's left to go and sign for Wrexham or Derby or Millwall.
Genuinely, it will be like the Queen when the Queen died, when Longman leaves.
What? Because Nathaniel will be inconsolable.
Going to 2 weeks of mourning.
Queue up at the mausoleum of Longman's Hull City career.
But
I quite like Brian Longman. He's a nice bloke, and I really wanted to work out for him.
Oh, I love him. I've met him a couple of times. He's a fantastic bloke. I like him I do like him as a player. When he was here on loan, he was great. It's just a shame it went the way it has, kind of.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about Longman when the family's not here? We need to save this content for him because it keeps him going.
It does keep him going.
I can't believe we're ending an episode about us getting to the European Championship final on Ryan
Longman.
Here we are.
And then there's one thing I've forgotten to write down on the list as well. The scholarships were announced. We've signed Zach Jagielka from Liverpool because that was reported last week. Cool. That's how we'll finish it. We've signed a 16-year-old from Liverpool.
Nice. Is he as good as Lamine Yamal?
Well, I bloody hope so.
Did you know he's 16, by the way?
Really? Did you know Luke
Dogs
Littler?
can't look up.
Luke Littler, our teenage sporting sensation compared to Lamine Yamal. One's a professional sports person, professional athlete. One's a professional footballer.
Oh, one plays for Spain.
Well, we've got a tough game coming up on Sunday, haven't we? But with any luck, we win and we get a bank holiday at some point. Sounds good.
I honestly haven't got a bank holiday. It's just the idea of England finally winning something. It don't feel the same as Euro 2020. For me, it feels better. I don't know why. Even though that was on home soil, this just feels more like it might happen.
Yeah.
I think it's the way it's gone with us last minute against Slovakia and penalties against Switzerland and then last minute again against the Dutch.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's going our way, but no matter how we're playing. And hopefully that carries on. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's a good Spain team. But at least we're not out the Dutch and did it for Graham. Rest in peace.
Hence the episode title, Graham Taylor's Revenge. Thank you for watching and listening, everybody, whether you're live or watching this when it has been re-uploaded after the fact. Will, thank you. And we might perhaps on Monday have... Well...
No. If we've won, I may not be... I could be anywhere on Monday. I could wake up and be in Aberdeen for all I know.
Might we save it for Tuesday then? Where I imagine all five of us will be present, reveling in the beauty of what might happen, or perhaps not, if the outcome we all hope happens does not. But it will. Believe. England are in a second consecutive Euros final.
It's coming out.
Nobody say it, don't jinx it. Thank you for watching
this.
It's
coming.
Okay. One more time for luck, Will, or not? I know as soon as I start talking, he's going to.
You've got to hold and give and do it at the right time.
Well, you've just totally buffered there for me, Will. But I imagine you said you've got to hold and give and do it at the right time.
You can't be slow or fast, so you must get to the line.
They'll always hit you and hurt you, defend and attack. And I think there's some connection problems here now. So I think we should leave it there. Thank you for watching, listening, everybody. Take care. And auf Wiedersehen, pet. Come on, England!
You'll always hit you.
Oh, this at the end of this episode's a nightmare because I can't. I'm hearing Will in stutters. I'm hearing Will in stutters. Oh my god. Will's head is moving so incredibly slowly for me. This is a nightmare. What a shambles the end of this episode has been. This is a nightmare.
One way to beat.
I'm gonna see how this looks for you lot, by the way, on the stream, because this is an abomination from my end.
Get around the. See you later. From.
Bye, guys. Now I can hear Will. Oh my God. Are you connected to me again, Will? Hello? Will?